update. I just started the live stream, and I don't even have the meeting up in eScribe. Nice.
Consideration of remote participation. I know John is online.
You don't need to do it for John. He's not a voting member.
Okay, so we don't have any of our members. We're all here, but John, welcome. You can hear us, John, okay?
Is your mic on?
I just turned it
Ours is
on.
on. John's on mute, I believe, so, but we do see him online. So, okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Good morning. Okay,
good morning.
all right. First order is the adoption of today's agenda, as published and distributed. Make a motion to adopt the agenda. Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so moved. An adoption of the previous meeting minutes, which were distributed and reviewed. Motion to adopt the minutes as published. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so moved, or motion passed. Public comment, I don't see anyone or signing up for public comment. Okay, and we do have a full agenda, as Austin has stated. The first one up, and it's going to be related to the overall master plan. Hunter is going to be dialing in. I don't know if he's on yet.
Hunter's on there. I don't see Haley yet. I'm going to resend her the Zoom link just in case she's having issues.
I'm online.
Oh, she is?
Hey,
Okay,
good morning,
good.
you guys. Yeah.
Okay, good. Cool.
Okay. So I don't know if Hunter's going to kick it off or Haley, but just
Haley can go ahead and kick it
maybe
off.
just to give context.
Yeah, I was going to say I'll turn it over to Haley, but in short, this is part of the master plan update. So our consultant Kimley Horn and Haley from Kimley Horn is going to present you guys and get some engagement and feedback from you. So I'll turn it over to her now.
Okay, and just
Yeah, I know.
oh,
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Haley, just want to make sure everyone on the PRNG is aware that the engagement we've had with Kimberly Horn around the overall village hall, the whole plan for the village, and it includes a section of the Parks and Rec, Parks and Greenways too, so.
And Haley, I'm making you co-host now so you can present.
Very good. Yeah, that's the only thing I was going to ask. Yeah, and while you're setting that up, I'll share. I plan to only take up about 20 minutes. I've been told is the kind of agenda slot for this. So I want to respect that time. I don't anticipate we'll get through every type and version of feedback you'd like to provide, or all of your thoughts. So definitely, I don't want to pretend like this is the only opportunity to talk to you all, but really want to provide an update and what to expect through this spring. And kind of prompt you with your initial feedback as we work on this update. Let's see, it looks like I can share. Let's see.
Okay.
All right, are you guys able to see my presentation?
Yes, we are.
Very good. All right, so really the slides I'm going to go through are our understanding of why this update is needed. The last plan was pretty recent, 2023 was the previously adopted plan. Usually these plans are intended to be a 10-year horizon, with 5 years being kind of a more typical revisiting. So I've kind of a list of reasons that this update is happening. We have completed some engagement. The bulk of engagement is really focused on the 2025 community survey. That's where I think there's nearly 600 participants. So that's where a bulk of the engagement is coming from to inform this plan. But we have had a few other touch points with the community. There's been one community meeting, and then the combined working group with the comprehensive plan process. So engagement, key takeaways there. A draft document outline. Ultimately, this body will be one of the review arms. So I want to give an idea of what you can expect will be included in this document. And then the discussion, and really what we're looking for in your feedback now and at this point in the process, is what parts of the adopted plan can be checked off, which things have been entirely completed, which things are included in your CIP plan, they're on the horizon to be completed, so that we can create an effective priority list of things to carry forward. Just this remains a priority. It's moving forward as a priority. Which things to maybe lower the priority of, or which things to remove from this like 10-year horizon as something that may not be feasible, considering or just not as much of a priority as other items. So why update now? The 2025 community survey results have a consistent support for parks and open space. The ecological priorities are sustained. That feedback is consistent. The funding and urgency of those things has changed. So that support shifts. The completed Greenways feasibility study, being established as a Tree City USA, has some requirements to this board to act to continue to support that, to uphold that Tree City USA status. There's a public association of greenways and park growth having direct tax implications because of the bonds that did not pass. So that just public association, there's a little bit of a need for transparency and to be able to support spending on greenways and parks and communicate when and how that impacts taxes or does not. Continued community interest in programming expansion. This is needed to inform partnership opportunities that the village is interested in supporting versus ones that they may not be interested in supporting. The Carolina Thread Trail Union County update is starting this year, and we'll look at Village of Marvin's Greenway plan and is collaborative with the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan process was already beginning and includes engagement, includes stakeholders, has a parks and open space component to it. So these pieces are being folded in together. Engagement key takeaways. These are categorized, and I don't intend to read through all of these, but they're categorized by parks, greenways and trails, and recreation are kind of the headings that these findings are organized under for the community survey. Overall, there's a feeling that things are just right, that open space, parks, recreation amenities are just right, and there's less support for larger scale facilities, generally leaning towards, like, most everyone's going to parks by driving to parks. So accounting for the impacts of that, accounting for people plan to drive to parks. So making sure there's paths connecting to parking or parking at parks kind of increases the need for a larger park if that's part of the expectation of that park. But it is good news that your community feels that there's enough parks, open spaces, recreational amenities. Part of that, and we'll see in the working group, is like feedback, is that part of that feeling of just right is not all publicly or permanently protected open space. There's a lot of privately owned open space and private, like HOA amenities that likely are adding to this feeling of just right, but those aren't permanent. Those are not within the control of the village. But ultimately, it's good news that a majority of the population feels that there are adequate amenities. Related to trails and greenways, over half of respondents use parks and trails. This is a little lower than what is typical, that 52%. Again, because there's that private open space. But ultimately, everyone does value walkable connectivity to neighborhood schools and parks. The list here, I think, is important. What do they want to connect to? Neighborhood schools and parks, and points of interest was added. So definitely the Heritage District was added in the community meeting as one of those, like, connectivity to pieces. Programming, overall program interest is more towards larger, less frequent events rather than consistent, like, weekly events. In the working group, the expectation of this plan is definitely that it will identify actions for prioritizing protecting natural areas, tree canopy, and connections to points of interest. So again, schools, parks, really the heritage districts. there's a conflicting view of Greenways. I'm sure you guys are very familiar with this. Conflicting view of we want that connectivity to where else in the region that these opportunities are provided. We don't want to miss out on that connectivity where others are providing that type of amenity. But we also don't want that connectivity bringing other people in. Is the kind of competing view that I'm sure that this board has to continue to manage and make decisions based on weighing that opinion. Definitely the expectation to consider peer communities' annual spending as frame of reference, as kind of a starting point to assist in creating funding as like a more predictable tool. Private parks, private open spaces, or natural areas add to the opinion that there is enough, but it's important that these are not open to everyone and or protected from being developed. One of the major takeaways so far from the comprehensive plan and what continues to be a goal of the comprehensive plan is protecting the rural character of Village of Marvin. And that's consistent across all engagement, consistent across council as an overarching goal. But a lot of the land that adds to that character is privately owned. Therefore, it could be sold and changed without a lot of tools to like kind of wholeheartedly protect that land. And then we discussed connectivity priorities. Again, Heritage District Schools Parks. The February 17th community meeting, there was, I think, recorded at the sign-in, there were 17 attendees, likely closer to 20, 25 that not everyone signs in, to just give an idea of the weight between these. This community meeting was focused really on the comprehensive plan, was the overarching purpose. We had a few boards related to parks and recreation, and then we had the Greenways map that participants could provide comments on. When asked top 3 most important activities you want to be able to attend when you visit parks, visiting historic sites, learning about the natural environment, observing wildlife, walking. These numbers are the number of people that indicated that with a sticker at the event. Other primary discussion points from attendees: frustration with implementation of Greenway connectivity through neighborhoods, HOAs. They want increased transparency of progress and prioritization. That was like a overarching like conversation of just what is the steps between the dotted line on the map and something being constructed. It seems like there's not a clear process of that. Priority to save trees, protecting ecological corridors, the waterways, and the emphasized failure. A lot of the people who attended this meeting were frustrated that it was even still a conversation. They felt those bonds not passing should communicate enough. There's not a need for more of these facilities. But we have lots of other engagement that indicates there is still a need. So I want to document well, those that attended generally were against expansion of these facilities. Their concerns are really isolated to specific locations. So you'll see in kind of the key takeaways of this engagement is focusing on where needs exist geographically across the village. I think there, and we have the kind of markup of the map. There's like specific areas where people are advocating for this is not a need here. Yeah, and we can talk about that more too. And then where would you like to see more of the following? So this was kind of a sliding scale question. So there were each of these topics: preserved open space, parks and recreation, farmers market, greenways and trails. These are definitely related to this Parks and Greenways master plan, but again, this was a question kind of for the comprehensive plan. Within Marvin, preserved open space was like by far the largest indication of anything within Marvin across all the different topics. Near Marvin and then within the region. So again, you can see greenways and trails are indicated as not like a priority within Marvin, even near Marvin, but a priority within the region. They're still opted of like, I want to have access to these, but just not directly in my community. again, the scale of input here is important. Number of attendees and the weight each of them get. The nature of a community meeting is we can ask much more specific questions because there's someone standing there to explain them, versus an online survey needs to be more standalone. There's a little bit of the difference of how specific we can really get.
Haley, may I ask a quick question? I know the numbers seem small. What was the attendees at that community meeting?
There was 17 people who signed in, and we estimate about 20 to 25 people attended. But that's like the record of the event.
Okay. So I just kind of trying to balance that with, like you said,
The survey,
the survey
yeah.
results where
Yeah.
we had 600. And I know, I mean,
Exactly.
are we having a second community meeting? Because I know there was one and then we had
Yeah.
snow. So there's additional
Yeah.
input you're going to be collecting, correct?
That's correct, and that's a piece kind of, and I'm hustling through these a little bit because I know you can come back to look at them, so we can talk about that too. But that's a decision to be made, is if, like, what questions remain to be asked of the community, especially because the 2025 community survey had such great participation. There were quite a few questions about greenways and trails. The previous 2023 update was recently adopted, also with great engagement. So like, that's like, I'm like proposing that the next public, the community meeting is more of a presentation of findings and recommendations, like in draft form prior to adoption, rather than asking more questions. Because I'm not sure what questions are left to ask. This is the summary that we're looking at. Definitely consistency with 2019 and 2023 results, that open space, watershed, tree canopy protection are the highest priority. Parks and trails that exist today are currently used and enjoyed. Additional requests are largely for events, recurring monthly events, annual events, um, walking trails, additional playgrounds, much more support for sidewalks, greenway connectivity, contained entirely within natural areas, increasing safety and connecting to points of interest. And then this perception of spending being a personal impact to property is a kind of a barrier in any spending on parks and greenways, that are needed for prioritizing safety and quality of existing, in like activation, that programming. Private open space, recreation spaces, walking trails are part of the system that informs that just right feeling. So we have good engagement. There's clear priorities. These are like initial recommendations based on those priorities. So like, yes, there's an additional community meeting intended for both the comprehensive plan and this project. My initial recommendation is at that meeting, we try to present, like, the goal would be to present initial findings or recommendations, like what this plan is going to say, rather than asking more questions. Just because of that limited turnout, it's hard to figure out how much to weigh 20 people's opinion when we have such great engagement from like this panel of 600 people.
Yeah, that's why I just want to know how we're balancing the input from the survey to the 20 people who showed up. And again,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we're continuing to, because I see
Yeah.
the last message, or maybe the prior one, where it said there was the concern about the bonds, but I don't know, was that part of the
Yeah.
open-ended questions? Because I didn't see that as much on the survey.
Nope, that's correct. So that's really part of the community meeting. So the value of the in-person community meeting and like the weight you're talking about is we were able to get more location specific input. So more like associated, like geographically, where in Marvin do you have concerns, whether it's an intersection, like that location specific detail is great and is something we do not have in the community survey. So that is like the most valuable part of those in-person meetings, is someone can say, I'm incredibly familiar with right here. Those more overarching things, like I do or do not have a need for more parks, that is where it is not weighted higher than that larger sampling of the community survey. So where it's location specific, that's where it adds to the community survey. That's great. There's like additional detail we were able to get from residents. But where it's like conflicting, like those responses don't outweigh the community survey, But I think it's good for this board to be aware of the people who are attending these meetings, that their highest concerns, and like things they want to communicate through this process. Does that answer your question?
It does, again.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
I
Christine, you've
just
got
would be
questions, yeah.
careful to weight the community engagement, 17 people
Yeah.
like the survey, and that's what you're saying you're not going to do. Just because, I mean, because the people who showed up are very into this. So it's
Yeah.
a bit skewed, which is fine.
For sure. Well, and the goal always, yeah, and that's true of all in-person events. It's like,
Exactly.
yeah. So, but what's great about that and the working group is they can level things out. So, like, I think this, I've gone too far. Let's see. This, like number 5, private open space, recreation spaces, walking trails, like the private pieces of that are part of the system that informs Just Right. That really came from the working group, saying like, yes, our community is saying this is just right, but this additional layer of, are these available to everybody? Is this permanently protected? Like even that working group adds that additional layer of information, that can inform this board.
To clarify, is the working group the community meeting or the working group the one that Christine and I are participating in?
The one that you guys are part of.
Yes, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
The like staff stakeholders
Gotcha,
group.
that's the one, okay, thank you.
Yeah. So that additional insight too has added to this summary. So like these are the key takeaways, considering weighing everything. So weighing everything, there's a large perception of spending, like this is that bonds piece, which is consistent in the community survey and at the meeting, the community meeting. The community meeting just can be more specific because it's like more explicit conversation. So this is what we're recommending as action related to that engagement. So prioritize land acquisition, land protection, in line with that priority for open space. Seek partnerships to host events in parks, schools outside contracts. Prioritize planned sidewalks, agreement connections based on safety points of interest. So amongst planned projects, further prioritizing based on what's been communicated, where there's more short-term like support ultimately, and increased transparency around decision making. This is really the recommendation to share. Like a lot of the questions we got at the public meeting was just how does this work? So increasing that transparency, including like where you've been very successful in getting grants and what that means. What is the impact of that? Is just like you're making a lot of decisions, but how transparent and how that's shared. That was the feedback, as that could be improved, which may include a webpage, project updates, educational videos, or summary. I know these are recorded. I think that is great, but it's definitely like you're saying, not a lot of people are going to watch this presentation or review meeting notes regularly. So something more short form for that. Consider locations of privately accessible amenities, privately preserved open space when planning, so that those locations of where there's this like perceived no need for it because it already exists there, consider it, but also don't rely on it to fill the remaining 40% of the community that says they do have a need. There's not enough parks and open space. That geographic layer is strong, to consider that weight that we're talking about.
Yeah, I think that's a good one, and I'm sure our group will continue, because as you said, if an HOA has their amenities and they're considered it fine, but now they're excluded folks from using it, then we don't have access.
Are we really fine?
Yeah, and so really,
Right.
as much as 60% is the majority, 40% is still a large number of people. Yeah,
Exactly.
So, yeah, we have to remember that. That's a really good point. Thanks.
Yeah, and too, like those those partnerships, and I'll keep moving through these slides. So ultimately, draft document outline, purpose of this update, defined and updated needs. Some of these needs are very consistent with previously identified needs, really for open space, ecological protection, connectivity points of interest, reviewing guiding documents, Parks and Greenway, what exists today, that just like surface level update of progress since 2023, engagement summary, which is very similar to what we've presented, Level of service and benchmarking. Was completed in the 2023 plan too, but comparison of what are others providing as park and trail space, like other comparable communities, what are they spending annually? And that's in line with kind of the expectation of the working group too.
And Haley, with that benchmarking, I think that's great, the metrics on usage and spending, but even just like the one topic around perception around connectivity, outsiders, and safety, I assume you have that
Yeah.
experience with other communities too? Is that part of benchmarking as well? I mean, or?
Yeah, so level of service and benchmarking is done best when it's very quantifiable, when we can say dollars per population or dollars per park and recreation staff or acres per parks and recreation staff. Things like safety and connectivity are very qualitative. So we can write to those things, but they're difficult to put in like a comparative table. But so in recommendations, I think the recommendations piece is a great way. One of the recommendations to even just like from the engagement key takeaways is to have that more transparent process. I think where we can compare to peers is really in their process of dotted line on a map to constructed sidewalk greenway is a great like qualitative place to learn from peers. Especially because you've done some of these reviews already of what is the ecological impact of this. I saw the critical intersections review. Now what do you do with that like next step into action and how to do that transparently, I think is a great place to review like connectivity, safety, but also communication in those recommendations.
We are out of time on this item. We do need to keep moving because
Sure.
we have a lot more today. So, final
Sure.
questions.
Yeah, I mean, really, I was going to open for discussion, really reviewing the previous plan. This is where we're at in the process, and then show this quick. So today, Park Greenway Board's working group meeting. Number 3 is planned for later in April. HOA President's meeting, and then early May tentative community workshop. But next steps are discussions about what relevant to this project should be shared during this time. But looking for your feedback. I know I'm out of time on what pieces of the adopted 2023 master plan are completed and can be considered fully completed. We can move on from them. Yep.
All right.
Are there any additional questions?
No, thank you, Haley. And we do have a working group next week, so Christina and I are in that. So if anyone else on PRG has questions or things you want us to bring forward, please, we can talk offline and.
Actually, it's the week after.
Next after, yes, that's right, because Lucas has been helping make sure we attend, or get it on our calendar, so.
He's putting
Yeah.
the cats
Yes,
now.
but thank you, that was very informative.
Very good. Yeah, and feel free to email me too if there's anything like specific out of the rest of this meeting. But I'll just plan to listen the rest of this morning. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you very much.
thanks, Hunter. So we're going to move on to unfinished business. We do have a full agenda, but I think some of these can be compressed too. The first item on unfinished business is around plaques, and this is specific to Eford Park and the recognition of the Native Americans. We have some other discussions on plaques later in the agenda. So Christina, this was one you had raised last meeting?
Right, and nothing's changed since then. If we're going to talk about ownership of land, and we talked about Marvin Eford and this new park here, then I think we should go back a little bit farther and talk about who, they wouldn't say they owned it, but who used to hang out here. And there are several websites, the one I was just looking at to confirm, there are 4 different tribes of indigenous people that used to hang out here. I can see why, but this website says is to then contact those tribes and see if they agree with us. But I think that would be nice to have on, and I did not check Marvin Eford. I bet it's similar. It's probably 3 of them, if not all 4.
Okay.
It's easy enough to do. It's just where you're going to put that information.
Right.
That's the hard part.
And then we've got that in the next part of the agenda is because we do have a lot of acknowledgements in our communities.
Right, exactly.
But I think your goal would be to acknowledge in the Houston Ross and the Eford Park. Obviously, there's trails, but we're not planning right now to acknowledge all
Just
over.
some kind of, this is, you are at Marvin Eford Park, and this land used to be, you could say managed. I don't know what verb they would like us to use, but you know what I mean.
And that's also good context, like you said, history and.
Yeah, that's
lineage. Nice.
5,000-year history, 10,000-year history, whatever.
Okay. Any questions on that for Christina? Thoughts? So you've got the access to how we would research it, and then
Yeah.
as we start to build into the overall plan of plaques and acknowledgements.
Yeah, and
this
actually, I'm
roll
happy to
into
go
it.
ahead and do the research.
I was gonna say, just to keep things moving, if y'all wanna go ahead and draft some language, send it to me. I can get a quote. If it's gonna be a bronze plaque outside, it's gonna be $1,600 probably.
No, this is an in my mind, it's an informative
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, if it's outside, it's
well,
gonna
yeah,
be
but,
material.
yeah, I know what you're saying. I see what you're
Yeah.
saying.
So just, if someone wants to take that on and draft that, we can take it from a staff level once we get that and get a
Okay.
quote and everything.
I'll do it.
Okay, you'll find out the wording, and then we can,
Well, we need to find out what the words are,
That's
right?
right.
I mean, to
Right.
do the
Are you-
research.
Are you doing both Eford Park and tribes or just tribes? Native Americans or?
Yeah, so all of the indigenous people that hunted this land, lived on this land, whatever, for Marvin Eford and for Houston Ross.
Well, there was discussion of doing one plaque for of why Eford Park is named Eford Park.
Yeah.
The contribution of the Eford
That's a
family.
different
yes, and maybe
conversation.
this would be a good time then, along with that, to move
Yeah.
to the item on the overall parks signage.
Yeah.
I think, I'm sorry, where it is.
Hold on.
Am I jumping too far into H?
Let's not do two items at the same time.
Okay, gotcha, let's,
It's a little too
okay,
messy.
so,
Yeah, this just needs research
Mm-hmm.
and confirmation, and then we decide where we're gonna put it and how we're gonna do it.
And then
It does
that'll-
not need to be a dissertation, it doesn't need to
No.
be War and Peace.
okay,
John, can you hear us?
I keep going back to that.
No, is John not on the screen?
Is he still on there on the meeting?
Let's see.
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
John, I know that you know more about the contributions of the Eford family. Would you be willing to draft maybe some language for a plaque for kind of explaining Marvin Eford Park's origin story?
Yeah, there's some information that we have that we can do that, and I think in general, there's been talk about whether it's the village hall or Marvin Eford Park, the need to do some of these plaques just to kind of help educate residents, on some of the history, of these areas that we all live now. And I know there was discussion. It might have been more specific to the Houston Ross Park. There were talk about, is it going to be 7? Is it going to be 8? Could it be 10? And I think we just kind of have to look at all of those, whether it's Houston Ross Park and or Eford Park, kind of together. We'd probably want to have some sort of commonality, in terms of, people recognizing, that's looks like one of their educational type plaques where you can learn something, rather than, them being all different necessarily. So
Well, I know that
I think that's really what we want to, get back from.
So I know that Houston Ross Park, that's being handled by the other working group. So I think we should probably focus on our efforts on both Eford and the tribes for now.
But though I do want to say, though, that we're working in conjunction with the historical group and the subcommittee. So I think maybe what John is saying, Austin, and maybe here, this is, we're trying to find a consistent way that we're going to do signage in all of our parks.
If you want to do the informational signage like you're planning on doing for Houston Ross Park, we've got 10 of those signs quoted. I got the quote this morning. 10 of those signs is $15,000. That's for the structure, not the actual print itself. We can still design those. So that just will have to be noted. We will have to find funds for that.
Right, but I think-
We have
yeah.
those for Houston Ross Park in our Part F grant. We do not have those in the budget
Right.
for Marvin Eford, for tribes. We will have to find money for
But
that.
I think, I want to make sure we don't go ahead of ourselves
Yeah,
and
and-
live it in these signage. I'm sorry, John, because I feel like we have to at least agree on what's the aesthetics of our signs, so not just ordering 10 signs because we want to order 10. I mean, I realize we have grants for that, but let's think as a whole, how do we want to have signage in our parks, right?
Well, for now, staff can get a quote on signs. Really, you guys should start on content. If you want to do content for Eford Park and for the tribes. So if you guys can, if Christina wants to work on the tribes language and John can work on Eford Park, once you guys get those to me, then we can start talking about what form it takes.
And so by content, you mean on Houston Ross, that is what the Historical Society
Houston
is
Ross is handled by historical.
Well, they're
Society,
helping
so
with
I'm
the
not worried about
content.
that
We're
right
going to
now.
help with the signage and placement.
I'm just talking about what this board is doing
Absolutely,
right now.
yeah.
Okay.
But I like the idea that signage continuity. So like John said, when you walk to Marvin Eford and you see, this is the sign that tells you about this land, just like here, this is the sign that tells you about this land. And this is the one that tells you about the butterflies.
Right.
that
So
kind of
some signage may reference, like, you said, more of the nature and the
Yeah.
and the
Yeah,
environment.
we can do it with, we can talk about that. That's
Okay.
easy.
So if the board's good on that, I think we're good to move on.
Okay,
9 minutes.
9 minutes, that's very good. This one will be, okay, next one up on our unfinished business, and this was a big discussion we had last joint meeting around recommendations on community events, the market vendor, and the kind of takeaway we had was for PR&G to discuss what events do we feel like are still important to support in our community. We also talked about how to evaluate a farmer's market vendors, and I know folks have been involved in different levels of planning, so I definitely want to talk about that here. We have 15 minutes, and I think this is a little bit of time to do some just collective, not brainstorming, but ideas of what we saw. We know that some of the holiday events like the Easter egg hunt and the Halloween trick-or-treat become very large scale, and that was some feedback we had as far as managing. And then we talked about the 5K, which was canceled for this year, but there's a lot of history there of how that kind of brings the community together. So we can either tackle it kind of by seasonal or by old events, new events that we feel like we want to look into. I'm open to hear just.
And this isn't a conversation you guys have to finish today.
No,
So
but
if
That's
you-
good, since you only gave us 15 minutes.
That's all I could give you.
No, seriously.
yes.
It's-
If you want to maybe start with, go through maybe 2 or 3 events and just talk about what your recommendations are for those, and we can bring this back if the next thing, do a few more.
Yeah. So let me ask, this is going to make you cry. What do we consider an event, a community event? Right, what?
Anything that Jill's had to previously manage.
So that's a good distinction. So it's not that someone is coming to the park and offering a Tai Chi class. That is a sponsored event. So something that involves the village, and PR&G probably has a volunteer level of
So like
involvement.
Arbor Day would be considered an event.
Anything that comes out of
National
our-
Night Out,
Anything that comes out of our budget.
okay, National Night Out, those hot dogs aren't free. Sometimes they are. That's considered an event. But like when Habitat Builders does the pollinator count that's open to everybody, you guys aren't involved in that, so that doesn't count,
That's-
right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
These
Some are
are-
some are
these are vil-
educational,
These are village organized.
Okay,
Okay,
perfect.
So that may be a community event, but it's not a village one per se.
Thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
there you go. So Arbor Day and National Night Out are on the books and are staying on the books,
Well,
right?
let me ask on National Night Out, and not to take it, I'm not saying we don't do it, but that's a bigger kind of push
That's a
down.
national
That's a national, right? But that is something that the village has always said that we want to continue to adopt, because it does cost money, not that we wouldn't want it, but it seems almost like an event, like, you have activities, bouncy houses. Is that a decision we have, or? I
Well,
mean-
if you guys think that we don't need to talk about this event is fine as is, that's fine, you can focus your efforts elsewhere. National Night Out, we've refined over the years in certain ways. Jill's implemented more kid-friendly things like the bounce houses, the DJ, because we used to do different musical acts. The DJ's been the biggest hit with the
Well, it's
kids.
just easier.
It's easier
Yeah,
too, it's
yeah.
easier. So I would say, when you're thinking about National Night Out, do you have a recommendation of things you'd want to change?
See, I
Anyway,
wouldn't-
if no, move on to the
Move on.
next event.
Yeah, see, to me, National Night Out, it's worked. It works now, right?
I would continue to do it. I think, without knowing a specific budget number, I think it's a cheap event.
It is.
It's a good community event. We get a good turnout.
And good volunteer,
And it's all actually to the extent that people actually interact with our law enforcement
Exactly.
and fire, I think that's an extremely important
I do too.
community interaction.
I know too.
So I would keep National Night Out on the schedule and keep it kind of as is. I
Yeah.
think it's been working and it's been very low impact.
Okay.
And we've been personally involved in
Yes.
several of them,
Yes,
so we've watched
right.
the evolution.
But I
I
think,
would say probably National Night Out and the tree lighting are probably the most.
Tree
Okay.
lighting, that's the other
Are
one.
your safest events,
Yeah.
the ones you
Yeah.
probably
So-
need need the least amount of effort on, just
and
because
I
they're
guess,
kind of set.
since you already have, like you said, it's kind of we got a blueprint for it, because it's bringing people together, if we're going to have to cut other ways, perhaps we can add to it, not making it more complex, but you've already got a critical mass coming to the park. Should we then throw on a I'm not saying throw a farmer's market on there, but add some of these, test drive some of these other
So
components?
that's one of the things
know,
that,
We did get Jill in here, so she's still working on events. Jill, they're talking about their recommendations for community events going forward. They've said so far that National Night Out seems to be on the lower side as far as budget concerns go, and probably needs the least amount of changes. Would you concur with that?
Maybe.
What time of year is that? I can't, is that
It's
late
August
summer? Okay, so.
Yeah,
okay.
it's August 4th. I do have an update for you guys on the agenda today about it, and it is a pretty easy event overall as far as changes. I do want to discuss with you guys potentially changing what we do for food, but other than that, not much else. So,
So we can go that, go back to that when it's time.
One thing that I would add to that too is that event, some of the volunteers have been supplemented by Kohl's or some, other, of the, local area.
Mhm.
So I just want to make sure we don't lose that since Tyler's not around to kind of, help get that. But I know that some of those volunteers have been very helpful in the past, serving the food and, different things like that we keep them engaged as well as
I
possible.
think that's the Young Men's Service
yeah.
League.
Yes,
Yes.
So like I said, Jill's got an update on that, on the
Later.
food side of
Okay.
it during her update. So if you guys want to focus on another event at the moment, just so
Okay.
you make best use of your time.
Okay.
But one thing I'm going to add to this, Habitat Builders has talked about adding, anytime we have a larger event like this, if there's something to look at in the park,
Yeah.
we would add a nature walk.
Perfect.
Just as part of the deal, you've got, captive audience and all.
And I think, kind of like I was saying, what else we add that complemented? I think
That's
that's an
what-
easy one, and not easy, but it's a good one. And the other one is just, we heard about transparency on the parks. We've never really set up a booth that said PRNG, but perhaps that's a place for us to go and have.
That's a
you know,
great idea.
The master plan, they're looking at, they can interact if they
Or
want.
just ask a Parks and Rec person.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, that because, oftentimes you float around there, they don't know, no one,
No.
they don't identify, perhaps some of us as PRNG, but just a way to be transparent. Hey, this is a PRNG or a Village Hall event.
That's a good
Questions
idea.
about our greenways, we can talk about them, but anyway, that's just a thought. Any other kind of add-ons? We don't have to go too deep, but those were a couple
I think those
ideas.
two are great for any kind of event we're doing, actually.
I think those are great because they're low impact. I think if we start trying to pile on too many events in one event, then it gets.
Don't we know?
Okay.
The reason National Night Out works is because it's contained,
Yes.
it's focused, and it's relatively low impact.
Right.
Once we have the thing, but if we start adding on too many things, it now becomes a very involved planning event
Exactly.
with licenses and permits and things like that, and we don't want to get into that. Unless that's our,
Right,
unless
for,
that's
like,
our
for
thing.
for this event, so that's kind of
Yeah.
how we, and then the
Yeah.
other one being tree lighting, I think is the other, we know that's not going away, but is there anything else we would not add to the complexity, but maybe kind of a complementary event? Because we're not gonna have more events, but could be just maybe where we can appropriately,
I think if we ever get the vendor market kind of thing going, that could maybe go with the tree lighting, except that maybe, I don't know if the timing is good for a Christmas market.
Probably more of a crafts market.
Yeah,
right.
well, no, not a farmer's market, but yeah, definitely a craft market, a vendor market. of
Otherwise,
some kind.
it's going to be kale.
Before,
Yeah, no, not produce.
before you all move on to
Yeah.
another, before you all move on to
Yeah,
another event, Jill, do you have a recommendation as to what events you think they should initially start talking about?
The 5K we should keep.
Because I know that you probably have thoughts of where they should direct their attention.
I mean, at the end of the day, council made a decision to cancel the 5K. They knew it was sort of self-paying, had no impact on the budget, but they just felt strongly that people didn't want it.
but last meeting, they asked for us to come back with our recommendations, so that's.
Yeah, I mean,
kind of bring it-
I haven't given up on it. I did, just last night, I reached out to a contact at the Union County Sheriff's Office because they are having their Deputy Dash 5K, which I discovered because I saw a Facebook event for it, and it had the contact at UCSO. So I did email him, and I said, hey, would you be willing to share what vendor you're using to put on your race? Because ours has gone dark, and I heard they're out of business. They're not responding to any texts, and so I'm waiting to hear back from him. But I would still love to do it, but I can't guarantee to this council that whatever new company I find would also be fully paid for. Like, it's possible that if it's a more expensive vendor, it wouldn't completely cover itself with registration fees. And you don't want to start charging $50 for a 5K. People are used to like that $25, $30 price point, and they're not really going to want to pay more than that. But I'm optimistic that, and I will say, council seemed open-minded that we could possibly bring it back in '27. I think for right now, for '26, they didn't want it. But if we can find where the revenue and expenses will cancel each other out, it's not unlikely that we could add it in maybe for like a fall race.
So 2027 planning, and I think
Spring.
when we're hearing kind of, at least across the group, other thoughts on the 5K, I mean, feelings on bringing it back with the right funding and support?
Well, once again, I think that good events are ones that are relatively easy to pull off, self-contained and low impact on the budget and on the demands on everyone's time, particularly Jill's if we're not going to replace Tyler. So I would strongly be in favor of replacing Tyler in some capacity because this is not Jill's job. But
Well, I can add to that, just to that piece real quick.
Yeah.
We have budgeted for a project manager. So far, council has approved that. It's in the budget. They have not asked for it to be taken out. That person is sort of going to be a hybrid role that will be split across multiple departments. But as far as a Parks and Rec standpoint, it's my understanding that person will take over events and rentals off my plate. They will spend about 30% of their time doing Parks and Recreation stuff. They are not going to be getting into the weeds with greenways and trails and planning that type of stuff. I think Christina will still take that on with council, but they will take that piece. And then they'll also do some things for some other departments as well. So that is the plan right now. In the absence of that, let's say we struggle to hire someone or find that unicorn to take that hybrid type of role. It's not that I can't continue to do it. It would just have to be a different conversation with council about what that looks like from a time and compensation standpoint. But it's something I could do, but I just couldn't do something huge. Like I definitely cannot get a farmer's market off the ground. I know the commitment in time that that takes. But doing the 5K or doing events that we've done in the past that I understand how they work, I've done them in the past, I've organized them and run them in the past, that I could do. It's kind of, I could probably do it in my sleep. It's just a matter of fitting it in with my finance stuff, you know?
right, exactly, because that's a consideration every time we talk about these events. Is if it falls on Jill, it's like, you know, kind of like when we talk about Parks and Rec or different landscaping plans, like that falls back on maintenance. So, you know, that's useful information because that is a consideration in our recommendations. So the things that are fairly self-contained, well-attended, can almost be done in our sleep because we've done them, they've proved successful. I think we should keep on the calendar and recommend to council that we keep on the calendar, namely the 5K, the Halloween trick-or-treat, National Night Out, and the tree lighting for sure. After that, Easter was always a little dicey, whatever.
It's the weather. It was always the weather.
weather.
That, you notice
That
it
is-
hasn't
we get the
rained.
rain.
Tyler left, it hasn't rained since. I mean, you
It
know.
rained on Easter, but yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Are we still recommending
And-
the Halloween then, or is that?
So we are about out of time on this item, about 5 minutes left. You said National Night Out, 5K tree lighting, and what else?
Halloween.
Halloween.
So
Okay.
just to be clear,
Halloween isn't necessarily, I mean, it's not
Yeah,
like the village gets anything out of any of these events except to have community.
well, council did greenlight all of those events except for the 5K. They did already approve National Night Out, Trick or Treat, and the tree lighting, just so you know.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I would agree with everyone too on those four. And I would say that there still is the openness to the 5K. I think part of that kind of just got caught up in two things. Number one, it was originally perceived kind of a part of Marvin Day, even though it was a separate event earlier in the day, but also the complications Jill had with the current vendor. And I think there is a very good chance that we can and will bring that back. I think most of council does see a value to it. And it was pretty much kind of, for the most part, paid for itself. The one other thing that I know there has been a lot of interest in and discussion, and there has been interest in the past, is the farmers market kit / vendor type craft fair. I do believe that's something that is going to require a lot more planning, and it's going to require us interacting and maybe searching out and entertaining some presentations from folks that already regularly participate in these things, because we have investigated this in the past as a PRG board. I think going back as far as like 2012, 2015. There's a, you know, there's where you would have it, whether the Village Hall Park would be better or whether Marvin Eford would be better. There's benefits to both. Number one, you know, there's much more visibility at Houston Ross Park potentially. but there's also very little parking there. So if we were to have any major events there, we may have to consider shuttling, which definitely increases the cost of things.
That would be horrible.
Marvin Eford Park, we'd have much more land and so forth and parking, but it's not necessarily visible for the impulse people that, are driving by and say, let's stop at this farmer's market or things like that. So the other piece of that is that the vendors that go to these things are typically planned out almost a year in many cases. They know what things they're doing every weekend and they have it planned. So that's where I think we need the expertise of somebody that's done this and work with these to perhaps come in and just give us some recommendations. In the past, some people did volunteer that from the community when we first looked at that a number of years ago, but it is something that does take a lot of planning to get off the ground, and I think something that would be appropriate for when we get that project manager in place to help us kind of work through that.
Okay, so to kind of round this out, because we are out of time on this item, National Night Out, Hunter made a note, Arbor Day, low impact.
Yeah.
Keep that. Bring back the 5K, keep the tree lighting for the most part as is, trick or treat. The issue with the farmer's market is it's slow to start up. It's going to have to start small, work it into some other events. I know Deb has volunteered to step up on this because she has some experience, and I know Jill has thoughts too. So maybe for now, I'll take some of the notes of what you guys have said today. I'll write them up. I'll put this back on the next meeting for further discussion. And maybe between Jill and Deb, you two can talk about maybe how to do some kind of vendors market at one or two of these events, at least starting off before we start talking about something larger.
That's a good feel.
It's my understanding that Angel was going to work with Deb on it, not me,
Not
just
you?
to be clear.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to, I know we got, and I think we can shrink the grass discussion a little bit, but for Deb.
Haha, shrink the grass,
Shrink
that's
the-
funny.
I have to think about that.
Sorry.
Deb, I know you had some thoughts on this too. I'm going to make sure we hear from Deb on just the events and vendors piece, because you, as you said, I think you were looking into the farmer's market partnering.
Yeah, I've been collecting contacts for vendors as I've been out and about for potential vendors. And I was curious to know, did anyone discuss the car show at all, continuing that on? I feel like you
Those-
could get vendors
What-
set up during a car show.
Those are private events that we just promote, and yes, they are happening. So we have two coming up in the fall. One is the first class cars that has been doing the car shows in the past. Then we have a British classic car group that's going to be having one in September, and then I believe First Class Cars is going to do another one they're calling it the winter, but it's more like November timeframe.
Okay, maybe we should consider a small-scale farmer's market in conjunction with one of those.
Can we, without stepping on their toes for the private event? Because they're gonna have their own planned attendance and stuff like that, parking space and whatever, so if we throw our own event in the middle of it.
A lot of the parking is taken up by the cars themselves, at least on the grass. We do have the paved lots, so that would be
I mean, I
an
agree
option.
that having, like, once again, having a seed event, you know, like maybe like tree lighting and then get vendors for that, but I'm wondering just with the logistics of the car show, because that is a private event and they're making their own planning.
Right.
For us to throw something of our own on top of that might be,
First Class Cars does bring their own vendors when it comes to like food, coffee, and a few other things, and they completely cover the cost of it, and it's free to the people in attendance. So I could see where that would be a little bit strange if we had vendors that were charging next to them having vendors that are basically
especially if we
free.
invite a whole bunch more people to eat their free food.
Yeah, yeah. I just want to touch on what John said real quick. I know we're running out of time on this item, but I actually do think that Marvin Eford Park is a pretty cool place for a farmer's market. And the reason I say that is because it may not be the type of farmer's market that would work every single week, but if it was like the last Saturday of every month, for instance, where you only had to get these vendors to commit to one Saturday a month, and they weren't there every week. But I think the idea that we've got playgrounds and air-conditioned and warm bathrooms when the weather is different means that parents could take their time kind of walking stall to stall and looking at vendors and knowing their kids are over on the playground and they're not like tugging at them that they're bored or they want to leave, you know? So I think it invites people to potentially stay in the park afterwards when they're done shopping and let their kids enjoy the nature, the trails, and the park. So that's just my opinion.
And if we did that, I would probably add some kind of Habitat Builders event, like walk around kind of thing. Go look at the pollinator garden, whatever.
I think based on our community survey, the presentation that Haley gave and all of that, we have to attempt a vendor, farmer, vendor, whatever, craft market of some kind, maybe two. I mean, maybe it's farmers markets like monthly and a craft type market with a
Seasonal.
you know, either in spring for Mother's Day or, you know, in the wintertime for Christmas. So I think we definitely need to have that. We need to work towards achieving that. That seems to be the big demand.
I think your most, and Deb, I'll let you concur, disagree with me. Maybe the best initial step is focus on a vendor market for tree lighting. It's far off. You have time to plan
For
it.
this year, yeah.
You could even do something like a sip and shop, you know, people buying last minute gifts for Christmas, add that in on a section,
So-
combined with the tree lighting.
I will write this up, like I said, and bring this back to y'all at the next meeting. We are 5 minutes over right now, so I want to keep you guys moving.
But we want 10 whole minutes to talk about Bermuda grass.
I hope
I
you
know
don't.
I
You-
do.
You've got 4 right now.
Okay.
I don't even want one.
Gotcha.
Go ahead.
Thank you, guys, and I appreciate your time management on this, Austin, and thank you, Deb. So it sounds like you've got some actions on thinking ahead for 2026 on vendors, and then the farmer's market, I think we're all thinking is a 2027 type of a plan, right? I mean, the bigger scale, perhaps.
Unless we're working for Christmas this year.
Yes, exactly, but nothing this
But a
summer.
vendor
Just-
market is
just
different than
right,
farmer's
just
market.
expectation setting, it's not this growing season.
Yeah, yes, that's full.
Yeah, I would agree. And one thing that I think we all need to keep in mind, though, is that the farmers market kind of craft fair, those are people that come in and their intent is to sell their wares and make money. We have a lot of events where we invite vendors in and they're just kind of, you know, showing what they do or things like that. But I think it's very important, however we structure this going forward, these people go, you know, pay for these stalls and go to these events, counting on traffic and actually selling things, you know?
That's why having them coupled with a seed event is the only way you're going to get vendors to show
Yep.
up, at least the craft kind.
Especially the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to prove that it
You've
works.
got to prove that you already have foot traffic, and then they will come. So, anyway, okay, so for next
Grass.
time,
Yeah.
we'll continue on that.
Thank you. Discussion on the grass, I think this has come up multiple times, but.
Yeah, it just won't die.
Just won't
The
die.
grass just won't die.
Okay,
There's
okay.
so many.
Christina and Jen.
Yeah, so I don't know what, here was my conversation with Christina earlier this week, that in my mind, council needs to tell us how fast they want to kill it, if they want to kill it and how fast they want to do
But I
it.
think they're waiting for us to tell them that.
Okay,
because
so
I don't
what-
think any of them are,
Care one way or the other?
I don't-
So how fast do you want to kill it?
like I said before, I would not make it its own project.
Yeah.
I would just organically, as we develop the site,
There's so many puns.
so many puns. Organically, as we develop the site, every time we have soil disturbance, don't put any more back in.
Yeah.
And also, like, there is way more fescue than I thought. Like, I mean, there's way more of what's going in right now than I felt like I saw on plan. Like, the entire surrounding of the
Rain
garden?
Yeah, you should walk up and.
So we're pretty much, we've eliminated a lot at this
Yeah,
point.
exactly.
So
So
there's
I like
really-
your plan.
it's really just, I haven't even walked around, just removing that patch and that patch would be the immediate thing, and just mulch them. Just get rid of, just round up those, strip it out, mulch it, as soon as.
And when it's hot, it'll be a lot easier to kill it anyway, because it.
Yeah, because, and so I would put that on, you know, Matt's schedule at any time that he could do it, if council
Jen,
approves of that. Yeah.
if you could write up just a few recommendations.
That spot and that
Because
spot.
as far as developing the site is gonna go, we're gonna have the loop at some point come around the corner. So
Exactly.
you'll see it there. You'll see it with the Wounded Heroes Memorial.
Exactly.
But the rest of the site, we've pretty much developed with the park. So.
Well, and that's, yeah, exactly, and then the only thing that's gonna be left is kind of between the memorial and the loop, like, there's gonna be this pie piece out here that's gonna be
And then
undone.
along the
And
property
whatever's
line.
happening over here, but that's gonna end up being parking lot if some of it, you know, if the development gets approved and everything over there.
There'll be,
so that's-
there'll be some over there still.
But it'll have to get landscaped for code or whatever the so I wouldn't do anything over there because the development of what's adjacent is still up in the air, and I'd hate to put something in and then take it back out. So that's what I mean by organically, is that these small patches can be done anytime, whenever it fits
And they
with
will make
Matt's
Matt's
schedules.
life easier.
It will make
Matt's
Matt's life,
crew's
just
life.
order some mulch and get rid of that. And then the other is just kind of stipulate that when you disturb the soil for the Memorial Park and when we do the loop, just don't put any more Bermuda back in.
And if it's a timing issue, if it's not a good time to plant grass, then mulch it
And mulch it and
until
put it
it's
later.
time, because there's no point in wasting grass seed or sod or
Yeah.
whatever.
So
right?
yeah, I can draft
We need
up a
rules.
list of those, and then as for what's left, we'll figure out what to do with that when we see what's left after those known upcoming projects are done.
Sounds good.
No, I think that sounds wonderful, and, oh, I'm so happy.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
I don't know if that was under 4 minutes.
Oh, you're right on time. Look, it's 10 o'clock, right on schedule. All right, next up is the update on the Mayor's Monarch Pledge.
I saw the first monarch in Marvin Eford Park like 3 days ago, on milkweed. I mean, it was
You
like,
capture that on picture?
yeah, I do, I have it. It's not a pretty picture because it's not blooming, but it was awesome. She was just flying around, and it was a she. So they're back, I guess, is the answer. We are wrapping up social media.
We've got a meeting on Mayor's Monarch right after this meeting, actually. But yes, we have a ton of communications that have already went out. I still have a
Constant,
lot-
really.
I have a lot more in the works about the butterfly garden, the rain garden, demonstration gardens that are going to be going in various HOAs, Marvin Creek, Canterville Creek, Wyndham Hall.
I think,
Marvin Eford Park.
yeah, because I'm mine are coming in this week, that's where they're going. Did Firethorn decide if they were going to do one or not?
He did not get back to me.
Okay.
I don't know if he ordered it or not.
Okay, so we'll see,
I'll
okay.
follow up on that.
Okay. And it may be, I'm hoping that all of these people that are doing it, because he just listed them, all of them that are doing it, and this butterfly garden that's out here is going to help people see how this works. I really didn't plan on a lot of attention this time around. You know, it's going to, well, here it is, this is what it looks like, so now you can do it. And yeah, so I'm hoping that it breeds some more things. Some of the really interesting things that have come out of it, though, first of all, lots of people like that, buying gardens that I wasn't expecting just the general populace to do it. But Marvin Creek on Saturday is having an invasive plant removal event with Habitat Builders because they just, and that is part of the Mayor's Monarch Pledge thing.
And we posted that this morning.
And we
so-
posted that this morning. And I know that we have at least 8 people from Young Men's Service League that are coming to help us. We sent it out to the scouts and them, and then everybody else that'll listen to us. But anyway, that is actually part of the Mayor's Monarch thing, is to get rid of invasive plants. And Keith O'Haron was apparently on site at Marvin Creek several weeks ago, and because they wanted somebody to look at their forests. I mean, that's what they are, I guess. And he goes, you have a lot of invasive plants here. And kind of just you need to get rid of these before they take over kind of thing. Well, Pauline, who is their HOA president, that stuck in her head, I guess. And so she's been invasive plant. And so that's what we're doing. We're starting this. And yeah, and they want to plant some trees later on in the fall and gardens and all this kind of stuff. So they are just gung-ho. I think that's really cool. But we're starting with the invasive plant removal and just awareness. So that's a big thing. You mentioned all of the neighborhoods that are going on. I felt the butterfly garden and the rain garden were installed on the 24th of March. And I would say it's worth looking at. Those plants were tiny. And I've got to tell you, in the butterfly garden particularly, the soil was less than, it's terrible. I told Austin it was rather like the top of his desk. And literally, they broke it up with mattocks. They broke it up like that. It was horrible. And they're all alive so far. We've got 3 more plant types to plant. They just haven't come in yet. So there's a little bit more that's going on in there. But they're plugs. They do great. So we'll see, how much better that goes. The rain garden is also considered it's a pollinator garden, absolutely a pollinator garden, and a host garden.
So
Christina,
the
can I
two-
ask a question? Excuse me, Austin. On a side note, the Marvin Ridge High School football team has always volunteered its services at Marvin Day in exchange for having their annual event at the barn. With the absence of Marvin Day, I have been unable to find any opportunities for those boys to serve the community. So my question is there any thing that you can think of, or any upcoming events where they could help remove invasive plants or help plant trees or bushes or butterfly
Might be
gardens?
farther on into the fall.
That's
but
fine, as long as I get a
absolutely.
commitment.
So do I get in contact with you? Because I just keep a kind of a running list of potential volunteers, and they sound perfect invasive plant removal,
Yes.
tree planter people.
Yeah,
They sound
please.
Perfect for both of those.
Because I've asked Hunter and I've asked Matthew if there's any opportunities where they can volunteer, and I haven't heard anything, so if,
Absolutely. There probably won't be much over the summer.
that's okay.
Because we just don't plant much. But yeah, come fall, so think October until February, we can keep them probably busy.
Perfect, I'll let
That's
them know. Thank
wonderful.
you.
Thank you.
I was thinking, we haven't heard much on that, was the stream restoration plan that was.
That's a whole nother project.
Okay.
It's just now going out. We've just now got a bid back, and we're going to be entering negotiations. So it's nothing's physical's happening yet with that.
So one last thing about the Mayor's Monarch thing. Go ahead.
I
What?
was only going to say that we have a number of action items we have to complete to fulfill our pledge, and we are almost done. We've pretty much accomplished almost all of them. Once we get these gardens in and we put some educational signage out,
Yeah.
then we've done everything we need to do, and we should get our stamp of approval.
Have a party. Two things. One, I have to update the Habitat Builders website for the QR code that I made that goes to kind of a
The
dead.
QR code needs to change?
No, the QR
Just
code's
the page
fine
is fine,
for your
okay.
sign. Yeah, so we're going to have these signs that say Mayor's Monarch Pledge and that little QR code so that if you scan that, it will go to a website that says, if it's spring, this is what's blooming. If it's summer, this is what, so you can see a picture and then you can get more information about that plant if you so desire. The second last thing is we have free seeds, free annuals at Mary's desk for anybody, but that was supposed to be for people who were putting in a new garden, especially with these plugs, it kind of doesn't look like much the first year. So it's zinnias, tithonia, Salvia coccinea, which is actually a native, and I feel like there's something else in there. Oh, cosmos, orange cosmos. So those will come up really fast and be great pollinator plants right now. I mean, you could plant them probably, I guess you could plant them next
Some are
week.
annuals and some are.
They're all annuals, yeah.
Okay, but they're just.
They'll
full size.
reseed.
Okay.
They're full sun. They get a little tall, but, but like, I'll tell you, they won't get tall if you plant them in crappy soil. So that'll keep them lower. So don't fertilize them. But anyway, those are free, and I've got so many more seeds.
Awesome.
Last thing, seriously. Matt and I, and frankly, some of the other staff over there, are working on a little section of I call it the meadow, at the back parking lot at Marvin Eford Park. We're trying a trial meadow over there. They've scraped it, they've scalped it twice, sprayed it. They're gonna scratch it up for me, and we're gonna put some different seed mixes in there to see what comes up. So that should be interesting. That soil's not bad, so it probably will go gangbusters. We're not doing plugs, we're just gonna try seeding, because hopefully in the future, we will have some other situations where we need to try seeds, because it's so much easier in some ways. But it doesn't always work very
So
well.
for the future, we could put that on some of the greenways, like,
Yes.
like back of the Tullamore Trail, we got a big open field.
Yeah,
You're
when
saying-
somebody's got this big
Yes.
area, and they're
Yes.
like, I want that to be a meadow, that's really easy to say and really hard to implement. And most people don't like the.
We are going a little over.
Okay,
Okay,
we're getting excited
well,
about this
you,
though, right?
5 minutes for monarch butterflies, that's just not enough.
Told me that was enough.
No.
Well, I just want to recognize both, Christine, obviously, your energy and enthusiasm, and Austin, you've been a great partner to make sure the communications are out there. I think this has really taken off, and as you said, faster probably than we expected.
Yeah,
So
it's been great.
And you
It's-
guys really have brought it to everyone's
Yeah.
attention in a really positive.
And he keeps me on track, because I'll go out there and fly around with the butterflies and not pay attention to what I'm supposed to be
Now I'm
doing.
filming her flying around the butterflies out there.
Yeah, it's not pretty, apparently. Okay.
Sorry, Deb,
I wanted to mention that Christina and I tried to get Firethorn to install a garden in between the pool and the tennis courts, because there's a lot of kids camps. So the idea was we would install a plaque, and it could be like a part of an educational event with their camps, their kids' camps. And they also expressed interest in partnering with Toys for Tots, Jill, and collecting. They just wanted to make sure that everything was going local. So
I mean, it should, in theory, but if
theory.
there's surplus, and I can't promise they're not going to share it with the surrounding county, but
Right.
I can promise that it will end up in the hands of children, and I think that's the biggest thing. But yes, the goal is to keep it local for sure.
Well, we can communicate with them just as far as getting
And we can ask the
donations
Marines when they come. I'll see if I still have the business card for the man that comes every year, but we can always ask them for a little bit more information about it, or we can look online and see if there's more information about it.
Okay.
So to keep things organized for the next item, which is the Heritage Trail, Lucas and Hunter have prepared some materials, so we'll let them present first before you guys begin discussion, if that's okay.
Next topic, Lucas and the Heritage Trail.
Do you need to screen share anything?
No, no, I should be good. So you were provided with some materials here that were in the packet. This is regarding council wanting to move forward on the remaining portion of the Heritage at Marvin Trail. Basically, just a few quick things that need to be highlighted here. The proposed trail segment, it was not included in Dewberry's 2025 trail system feasibility maps. And so those maps were included here. But the really important stuff here, the proposed trail segment does not cross any wetlands or floodplains, so that won't be a concern here. And then the other thing that I want to highlight here is obviously with any trail, there's a concern, okay, are we going to have to take any trees down in the process of putting this trail in? According to Ben Crowder of Crowder Site Development, the woods have been walked where this new trail is going to go in. 90% of the LOD stakes are still in, as well as the center line of the trail stakes. He's pretty confident that he should be able to just weave this trail through the area where there's already an easement there for it, and any of the major trees shouldn't need to be taken down for that. There may be some small trees that need to be taken down, but those old growth ones, those big ones that we're really concerned about should be left alone.
And we can put them on our list too. Anything that we take down, we'll just replant, right? I mean, Hunter's going to make the list anyway, right?
My understanding is
Even a small tree, we still have to catalog.
that is my understanding.
Okay.
Regarding a timeline for this, so staff is going to be obtaining quotes for this project over the summer, anticipating construction starting in fall.
Cool. Okay.
And that's all I've got on this.
Well, Lucas,
Any
this really
questions?
just rounds out the heritage, I mean, because you can see the current existing trail now, it's just going to take it around to the
Exactly.
completion, back into the neighborhood, right? Or back to
Exact-
the rear portion, okay.
Rear of the cul-de-sac.
Yeah, just one thing I'd also want to add, and Jill, I guess this is a question for you, but I know that we originally received a fee in lieu, but this will probably be something, and I don't recall whether or not it was put, anywhere in the discussion of our budget yesterday. So we just have to make sure that we think about that as far as the budget's concerned as well.
It is in the CIP to be done in fiscal year 26 to 27, and I have budgeted for it, but because it's a greenway, it is budgeted to come out of our capitals and greenways reserve. So that's why you guys aren't seeing it in the general fund budget, because it's going to be a capital item. But yes, it is planned. The funds are encumbered, and it is ready to go for fiscal year 26 to 27.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure.
Yes, sir.
So can I ask a question about adding trees back even if we don't take them down? Like, so we take one tree down, we can add a tree back, right? That's easy enough. We keep track of those when we remove a tree in this kind of situation, right? We try to add one back. Is that true?
I will let either Lucas or Hunter answer on this one.
Or do the little ones not count?
I think it's only up to a certain
Caliper?
dynamic.
So that is my understanding as well, is that when it comes to tree replacement,
They have to be a certain size.
they have to be a certain size before we can consider them for.
So particularly because I drive by this area every day, the density there of the trees is not great to begin with, even though it's a pretty wide buffer. I'm wondering if you happen to have some free trees and free labor, would that we be allowed to add some more trees in there? Is what I'm getting at.
That would be a discussion that you would need to have with the developer and the owner of the land. while we may have an easement to put a trail in, we can't just, you can't just go on someone's property and start planting trees. But I don't see any issue with discussing it with the landowner, saying, hey, we've got some trees that we could plant here.
So does it come down to talking to that HOA, actually?
Well, that neighborhood is still under construction.
Exactly.
There's no HOA right
Right, because the developer is still the HOA.
now. That's a question that we can take back. We can talk with Hunter and we can go from there.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a question we're prepared to answer at the moment.
No, I'm not, I'm putting it out there. Yeah, because we could add some more.
Would any of them be in the right-of-way?
They would, those trees would be wherever you want them to be.
They would be along the trail.
Yeah,
You're not in the right of way.
just trying to make it, those houses less visible from the road.
Yeah, I was just
and vice
asking, because
versa.
we don't need permission in the right-of-way, so that's why I was asking.
Oh, I
I
see
think
what you're
because of Tree City, we have permission to plant in the right-of-way, is that right? Trees?
Where's the right of way exactly?
Anyway, that's why I was asking, just curious.
Tell me, yeah,
I was gonna say, if it's a 30-foot easement and it's only a 6-foot wide trail or whatever, I mean, then that would give you a lot of side right-of-way.
it's all, I just want to throw it out there.
Refer that to
Yeah,
Hunter.
yeah, that's fine.
This same information will be presented back to council, I believe, on their May work session. So if you guys have any thoughts, anything else you'd like us to convey to council, this would be the time.
Yeah, one thing that I also want to make sure that we convey to the construction crews as they're deciding which smaller trees. I think about the last week or two, and some trees never get beyond a certain diameter, but are also still very important. And I think especially like some of the native dogwoods and things like that. So, I would just ask as they look, at the size of the trees before we take them down, that they just, are cognizant of what type trees they are as well.
And I'm happy to help with that ID if needed. I agree 100%.
I will also add that the state, they have a list of trees that are native trees that may have additional protections. And so that is another, that's something that we are aware of.
Can I have that list? I would like to see that list.
So how about, we'll write these notes up and go from there. Construction won't be happening till the fall. And we won't be getting a quote till the summer, so we got plenty of time on that aspect. Let me connect Christina and Hunter, and maybe you can walk the site.
Like every day. Well, nearby.
And then also, before we move on, I just want to make sure we go back, so I understand, this is being funded through a fee in lieu because this is some of the developer's investment. Just to be transparent, because I know we just talked about, we're not reinvesting in any of our greenways, so maybe John or Austin can explain to all of us.
Initially, the developer didn't want to put this part of the trail in. There were some people in the area didn't want it. The people who bought homes in the neighborhood bought it with the expectation of having that walking trail and have now asked us to put it in. The developer gave us a fee in lieu of, Jill, was it $27,000, $28,000, somewhere in that area? 28?
28.
It's going to be probably a little more than that. You've got inflation. But that should cover the bulk of it, and it's coming out of our, what did you say, the Greenways Capital Project Fund? Okay.
The difference, but you're saying, just to understand, the funding is really from a developer who committed to helping create a greenway as part of their, and that's kind of traditionally how all of our greenways have been funded, right?
Well, this is a case of a neighborhood wanting a trail instead of not wanting a trail.
Right. But many of the new the existing greenways came as those developments were being done. I'm just saying, this is kind of in line with the other trails that we have today, the Preserve, the Tullamore. Those developers invested into a greenway, and this is what the heritage developers.
And those that were against it probably still are, because the buffer is thinner than it looks. I don't know how deep it is. It's deeper than it needed to be, but you can see straight through it. I mean, year-round, you can see straight through it. So it doesn't feel like it's, and it feels like putting a trail in there just going to make that worse. Thus my idea of let's add a whole lot more stuff back to it, and you'll have a trail and you'll have privacy on both sides. I would think everybody would like that, the homeowners as well as the drivers.
Okay, thank you. That just helps
Yeah,
understand.
and Christina, I think there would be an appetite for that from the HOA side.
Good. I mean, truly, most people are not going to let you, not going to fight you adding trees. Thank you.
Okay. All right, that would be it for this conversation. Thank you, Lucas. That was a very helpful update, too. So,
Thank you.
all right, and we'll look forward to seeing progress on the completion of that trail. Next up is the update on the Houston Ross Park. I know we kind of talked about different pieces, but this is really the opportunity to kind of, one, get an update as a whole. I think, we have an opportunity to walk around already. It looks beautiful with so much that has taken place.
It's really starting to look like
really
itself.
is. I mean, this group sat here for what, Jen, a couple of years now, looking at those plans
Yes.
and all the diagrams to see what has come together is really fantastic. And so many of the good ideas, especially, I know Christina and Jen, you were really foundational getting those designs in place. So it's exciting to see it coming to fruition. Today's topic is really going to be around signage and landscaping, because it's important that as we have opportunities to put signage in there, we talked about this, educational, recognizing history, as well as recognizing contributors to our community, that we do something with a cohesive look, as well as appropriate for the size and scale of this particular park. It's not, massive, but it is, something we want to tastefully put in signage. So that's going to be the discussion for today, to talk about the opportunities for that. But then also just briefly, and Christina maybe can give an update on landscaping progress, because we see it, but maybe you can just share with everyone what's taking place.
Yeah, so all the plants for the rain garden are in, and God willing, by the end of the day, they will be back in. So that's pretty much done. The butterfly garden is, like I said, missing a couple of plants. They just haven't come in yet, but over the next month, they will be in and taken care of. We're also looking for a little bit more, don't worry, the generator will be surrounded. There's some holly coming in and potentially some wax myrtle coming in as well around there. So that's going to be covered. And I think that holly goes a couple other places too. If you had a chance to go by the only non-native plant that we planted out there, which is the tea olive, it smelled so good. And they are enormous. I've never seen tea olives that big in my life. They're beautiful. Yeah, so that's all great. So they're probably, I don't want to guess, but at least 80% of the way done, maybe more. Yeah, so that's good. By the end of the day, it'll be 80% for sure. Yeah. So, yeah, it's coming along. And I think their plan is to be done, I don't know for sure, Christina knows, but she's not here. May at the latest, I would think.
For the landscaping. And then we've got the paver path, the path has now been laid.
It's done, yeah.
Impervious.
Yeah.
And then we have a water feature too. That's still in the plan? I don't know, budget-wise.
I don't know.
Water feature has been approved, a contract has been approved, has not been executed yet, but yes, that's still going to happen.
So the good news about that, and I think it's supposed to be in the curve kind of over there, so as you're walking along, we sort of talked about that the other day. Our plant order, as long as things stay alive out there, our plant order had some extra plants in it, so I've got a list of things that we can use with the pond, that they're fairly suitable. Unfortunately, they're mostly early spring and then late summer plants, but there's something we can add in there. So we've got some plants for that too, because that was not part of the budget for the pond. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Great. So council approved, that's going to be kind of the final component of the park itself. I mean, as far as expectations. I haven't heard, and maybe someone's aware of when we are doing the grand opening. Is that going to be in the fall when we're completed, or is there any?
Fall.
Yeah.
Fall timeframe. It's my understanding that the Marvin Historical Society is going to be planning it. We did include some money in the budget for it, and I'm under the impression that the goal is to have them work with this board on planning that ribbon cutting, especially if you all want to be involved in that. So we'll just have to make sure that that happens.
definitely,
Okay, so we can relay that when the time comes. I think Angel is the liaison with that other board. So yeah, but we'll definitely make sure you guys are involved. And I think September
That's what I heard,
is
but
what I
yeah.
heard.
Your face is just right. I know,
Yes,
I'm
I
not
think
sure.
and I'm working with Angel in that liaison capacity, but it's important because, we want to also acknowledge all the other components of the park at that grand opening too.
Yeah, I think the worry is parking and per use. So we'll figure it out.
Okay, so that's great. So it looks like the usage now, I guess anyone could technically come in and use it's not closed off. You can walk on the trail for what you can do and admire the growth. So going into the signage, and I guess if there's any questions about landscaping, we want to spend time on the agenda on signage. And
I'm sorry, quick question. When is the event lawn officially usable and or rentable? Do you guys need them to stay off of it for a certain period of time?
I would say for now, yeah.
So not till calendar year 27, just let everything?
No, I don't think that,
Like a month.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think once once the landscapers are gone, I guess technically you can go out there. I don't think we should abuse it.
Okay,
the first
so
year.
I might come back at one of your future meetings and ask you for some help in figuring this out, because
I think
I am working on a fee schedule, and there are parts of Village Hall that can already be rented, including the parking lot. So I just have to sort of figure out, what does that look like from an event lawn standpoint? And if somebody wants to have a birthday party or something and use this park and this lawn, what does that look like? And I'll need your guys' advice on that
Yeah,
to help me move forward. Thank you.
One of the things that I forgot to mention is Christina and Matt and I figured out a place to put the covered seating area.
seating. When is
And
that coming in?
yeah, so I would have to ask Matt
Okay.
about that plan, but it's, if you walk past the butterfly garden, it's just right there on your right. So it's an area that there wasn't much going on, so you're sitting with the woods to your back and you're looking at the park.
Yeah, and I might seek some of your help. Obviously, we'll loop Chaplin in too, but I might seek your help coming up with, what things should potentially be off limits when people are renting, and what type of security deposits are we looking at? And then just when they rent the park, they have to agree to like 1 through 18, and it's just a bunch of different rules. I think we're going to need a set of those here, especially like I don't want kids splashing in the rain, whatever, or you know what I mean? Like I just don't want any of that happening. So we'll just need some guidance here on what that agreement needs to look like.
Yeah, and especially in the first year, because it's let's say the word tender. It's a more tender area right now, and that rain garden, that's gonna have to be off limits too. They can't
Yeah.
be rolling around down there.
I know.
Yeah, it's gonna,
The great and powerful Google says that to stay off of newly laid fescue sod for at least 14 days to allow roots to establish.
14 whole days.
Yeah, hold on. While light foot traffic may be okay after 2 weeks, it is highly recommended to wait 3 to 4 weeks for heavy activity. So, in answer to your question, no, it's not like a 2027 thing, it's like a month or two thing.
Okay, well, I'm probably going to wait till a July 1st or later thing, because I need to get my ducks in a row, so.
I think
Exactly.
that's
So
much
I think that's
safer.
gonna be more your constraint than the grass.
I think
Perfect.
we propose perhaps in the next PRG meeting, we have an agenda item around park usage and guidelines, so we can help Jill with that and maybe kind of frame what we
Okay.
think is the right traffic. Jill, will we give them access to the restrooms too, or, because they're not always open, how will is that gonna be a?
If they rent the event lawn, they would have to get granted access, I think. I mean, that's up to you all. It might be an additional fee. They might say, oh, we don't need it, we're not going to be here long enough, but I think they're going to need it. But they'll need the back lobby and the bathrooms,
The
yes.
way to segment that without.
That's what's cool about it, right? You can turn.
Yes, I mean, it's a nightmare for Austin, sorry, but yeah, they'll need a key card, and they'll need access to that back and the bathrooms.
Okay, great. So
You
that's
just hold the deed to their home while you have their key card.
great.
thing.
That's-
Yeah, it's no big deal.
But exciting that we have the one that's coming together and
First, they might rather do the
So
deed to their home.
we may allow usage of the park, but we'll do a grand opening in the fall. We'll definitely coordinate all of the input from the Historical Society and the PRG and obviously council on that event itself too, right?
You may want to even hold off on rentals until you're much closer to that grand opening.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Ribbon cutting event, because you want to make sure it's in
Right.
prime condition for that event.
And we may have signage that may also give information that, hey, like you said, tender plans or
Yeah.
whatever that is, so that it's just not
Do
there.
not touch this.
Just to
Yeah, I wanna
keep
make sure
this,
Yeah,
just
we
to
need to cover the signage part then, right?
just to keep this item moving, you are running a little short on time here. Sorry, go ahead,
Oh, yeah,
Christina.
no, I just want to cover the signage piece if we could. I know we're going to have to probably compress some of the other updates to Austin. But important two things to think about, all the signage, but the entrance sign was one we haven't really covered as far as planning, so, yes.
We were at a staff level, we did have the idea of just replicating the Marvin Eford Park sign.
Okay.
It's in our wayfinding, branding master plan to be consistent. So we would have Public Works build that same sort of
Where are you
structure.
gonna put it?
Yeah, question.
Probably, honestly, right here the road where people turn in, or a smaller version by the walking trail, where the walking trail will end on the
Because
side.
there's technically 3 entrances, right? That are paved. You can come from the neighborhood, you can come from this parking lot, you can come from, I guess, the road.
As far as the bigger sign goes, we would probably just replicate the Marvin Eford Park sign with whatever logo we decide to put on.
I guess that's a good question. I'd like to hear feedback here is, like you said, as an entrance sign, because I wasn't even thinking putting it close to the road, but then that does help identify people coming by. You don't have to come into the parking lot. So I like the idea that you're advertising the park
Yep,
outside.
I kinda like that
being
too.
in there. Thoughts on that from the council office, or the PRG board, as far as the signage out on, I guess would be on Marvin School Road, right?
Or you would do a smaller one probably that's more pedestrian focused on Newtown.
Newtown, because right now you can only really enter it as a pedestrian.
But once you have the loop going around, then you might want to do a
Right.
smaller sign out.
No, I like Marvin School personally. I kind of like that's where you're coming.
Okay, and it was
And then
saying-
it kind of makes the whole Village Hall feel like this is a park, the whole thing is.
Right.
I mean, so many
It's more
plants around
welcoming,
it.
And then also that leads into the Greenway Trail entrance too. So it's not just the park, it's a Greenway, it's a Village Hall, and.
I like the simplicity of using the same one at Marvin Eford. That's
Keep it simple. Could
Well,
say-
it looks good,
could
too.
say Marvin Village Hall and Houston Ross Park.
Yep.
Right, okay. So that takes care of the outside big signage. We potentially would have a sign on the Newtown Road entrance so that you know what you're coming into. And then if that's the case, perhaps, because you and I were talking, we don't need a sign maybe again right up by the Butterfly Garden because this is the park, right? I mean,
If you can't figure that out.
If you've seen it coming
exactly.
in at the parking lot.
we're trying
you
to
know,
reduce
as from
signs,
the
not
road
add
side,
more.
exactly.
Okay, so we'll have a road sign on two external, but once you're inside the compound,
You,
we
you
don't
should
have to.
know where you're at. I don't know
I think
that we
pedestrian focus can be much smaller than
Yes.
anything by roadways.
Well,
if
and
we
we've got the mayor.
find that it's necessary.
We can add it. That's a
put
great
one
point, yeah.
On the trail coming in from the neighborhood.
That's a
But right
great
now,
point,
it's
too.
only the preserve, so
Right, you come in, you know there's a park, okay.
they know that it's a park.
Well, and to your point, we don't have to have all the signs at the beginning
At
of
the
the
beginning,
thing.
no.
No,
Okay, so that covers the entrance sign. Then the other topic is around the educational signs, and just to kind of, we know there's two types of educational. There's the wildlife, however you want to call that,
Call it nature.
nature signs. So we're going to have signage around the rain garden and the monarch, the pollinator garden at minimum, to explain that. We need to have an opportunity to describe the history of the Houston Ross family and their contributions and impact. That's why we've named the park. This is where I would like to kind of open it up for discussion. And I know, John, you've got some views too, is the use of those signs is to tell the story of the Ross sisters, the Houston Ross family, Mittie Bell, and all the components of that, and really the recognizing the whole, trial and such that allowed that land passage to take place. So there have been some proposals from the Historical Society to put kind of a series of signs along that trail. That would kind of be like a walking trail of history, so you would read it as you go. Some thoughts or concerns I've heard from folks is that might be, one kind of to scale a lot of space of the park being used. Not that we don't tell the story, but where is it most appropriate to put the plaques that describe the history?
I think it kind of falls down to two options, is either you tell them like the old, what was it? Burma Shave Cream, when they had all the
Yeah.
the small signs on the freeway, so we could, it could be done in a series of signs where you read and go on. I guess kind of like a little listening tour. Or it could be one larger sign similar to like our bulletin board out here, strategically placed, that documents the whole thing all in one go.
The advantage of that is, as we were standing out there, we realized what I just said. There's at least three entrances into that are, paved. And so if you do the Burma Shave thing, do you have to do it this?
Yeah,
and it just becomes kind of a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah, it's not direct, it's not a unidirectional site, and I think that based on the scale of the site, I think
Yeah.
that's gonna look really crowded.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
if we're talking about 10, I'm going off of 10 because I heard that was the quote, so I think 10 signs is overkill on the
Yeah,
size
I
of
agree.
site.
Has anyone seen what they did at Kingsley and Fort Mill, where they have this, they have like this cool area where they tell the whole story of like Ann Springs and the Greenway and how it came to be and the family and the history
Where
of.
is it?
It's at Kingsley, which is like that big shopping area in Fort Mill. There's like dining and restaurants and stuff. But I came walking out of a restaurant there, and they just have this really great, pretty, very nicely done. And there's black and white photos, and you can sort of see a history and a timeline of the whole family and their impact they've had in Fort Mill and the Greenways and how the whole thing, I mean, that family pretty much owned every part of Fort Mill, I think, at one point. And it's just really neat. So, but all the information is in kind of one place where you can see the history and hear the story, and I'm wondering if that would be a better use, and not that it could be on site here, sort of to your point about a bulletin board, like, it was just done really nicely, but I'm trying to find pictures online to show you, but
Yeah, and what you're describing, I think I've seen like, educational kiosks at parks and stuff where, it's like about the pollinators or whatever, and you have a bench, and you've got maybe like a 3-panel backboard, and then, the display stuff, and I'm wondering if that could be integrated with our covered seating. And that might be the location because you can sit and read.
Yeah.
So it's like
And I know the one, their
there's
themes.
space.
a very pretty bus stop on the.
But the themes, one of the themes we've heard from the Historical Society is around community, right? How this
Yeah.
brought a community together, and maybe the idea of a covered seating is kind of the theme of this is where
Since I
you
know
gather.
we have to have it, and we've talked
Right.
about the covered seating is really at this point just a pergola that the guys are gonna build.
Yeah.
Similar to the one over at Eford, but if we are going to be putting the signage, maybe we incorporate that into that structure. And that makes it, wherever that structure ends up being placed, that maybe is the good focal point, because if we have too much stuff at the entrances, like, welcome to the park, and all this, that's too many signs right when you step in, and I think the 10 signs, or however many signs, I think the directionality of that narrative is a challenge, like Christina brought up, and maybe it starts to be overwhelming, just given the short length of trail space in this area. It's mostly lawn.
And if you want somebody to read the whole story, it needs to be in one place, because you
That's what I
can't be sure that they're going to keep going down the
And it could
trail.
give us an opportunity to put in photographs and not just.
Oh, I
words.
know. Okay, so now we all need a road trip to Kingsley, is that it?
Right.
I'm trying to find pictures.
Yeah, but
You gonna find
if not, one of us will, we'll take.
Or it can't be that far away.
So,
So I'd be in favor of one larger over multiple small.
okay.
Agreed.
And like you said, by larger, you could have like a multi-piece,
It could be a multi-panel thing. I
Right,
mean,
right.
A
but not multiple.
center panel
sides.
and three sides, two sides. Something like our bulletin board out here, something that matches the aesthetic and the bulletin board that's already here.
Okay. And then the thought, I like that you have a designated space, which is the covered seating, because there's seating and it's covered. Mike?
Covered.
What do you mean by covered seating? Is it like with a canopy over it, or
It's
have
going to
a
be like
pergola,
an
open
arbor.
pergola.
what's a pergola?
So
Have you been to Marvin Eford Park?
I have, yeah.
Where the pollinator garden is?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's, if you've just got the structure, you can still see the light and everything, but
Want to Tullamore, right?
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's
I was speaking with Christina about this yesterday, and one of the things she mentioned is that while it'll be similar to the one at Marvin Eford Park, just the scheme and color of it may be a little bit different, just to kind of better match what Village Hall looks like.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And our plan too is to grow a vine over it that will, at least in the summertime, it will be very shaded, right? So that's,
And I did want to add too, I think we're on the right track here, kind of having, a larger kind of dedicated, maybe not plaque, but like you said, more of a artistic billboard to tell that story that the, descendants and stuff are looking to tell. I think about just the size of this park, which is relatively small. And I just think of sign pollution when I start
Yes.
thinking, when are more signs, and I just start to think it'd be too much. I know we have a couple that we want educational that had been speaking about before, but then I think from the historical perspective, to be able to kind of focus that and tell more of the complete story in one place, I think would be more impactful.
and one of the things, because I was involved in the last sign meeting that you had on site here, one of the things that we talked about too is the ability to insert QR codes for even more information. And we're definitely going to do that with the educational signs because things change too much. I can't put it all on one sign, right? So I think brevity is good and then lead people to another place, and it's easy enough to do that with a website. Could be this website or another one.
So you guys are about 10 minutes over past schedule at this point. Christina, are you going to take some of these thoughts back to your group?
I'm going to take it back and talk with Angel just to let her, and I'm sure John can convey that for council too, but I think right here for this group is a recommendation that we do some sort of a collective sign area underneath the proposed covered.
And we can go look at the space if you want
Yes,
after this meeting.
The covered seating in the park to consolidate the information, but also allow it to be more comprehensive. Just to know, the group was also planning to finish the verbiage up by June, so we'd have time for the plan, but it's important now that we share that our recommendation is to keep it in this space, so they're not thinking of writing multiples of.
From a staff perspective, so just to make sure things stay on schedule, because we have to have, this park has to be done, everything paid for by the end of November. We need to have the form factor for these signs figured out quickly. Content is another story. What we've gotten a quote for so far are the types of signage you might see, like you walk along a path, there might be a long panel where you read along. Those sorts of interactive displays. That's what we have quoted so far. So if you want that to be a different form factor, we need to figure that out very
Can
quickly.
you share those with us?
It's just a quote. I don't have a photo, but it's more like you're walking along. You've got like a diagonal panel you're looking at.
It tells you what that
Like
picture.
you might see it like in the zoo or something.
Yeah, exactly, or historical places where this landmark was here, right? So I think it sounds like this recommendation would be a different type of signage, Austin, so we do want to make sure, and I don't know if that's something we want to, I can bring to Angel, but then just to make sure we're in agreement that we're changing course, so you don't order signs.
I would highly recommend you get on the same page with that group first.
Yes, right, but again, this is recommendation from PR&G to council, correct? That this is going to be the
I think it's the goal, from my understanding, so don't quote me on this. I believe it's my understanding that in a staff perspective, we are looking to have the form factor approved and purchased within the next month.
Okay, so recommendation that I think one of us will get the photo of Ann Springs to see that that's the consensus, that we like that style. We can talk about the location, which we've said is be the covered seating area, and this is specific to the Houston Ross information. I know that Christina will help with the nature signage, because that probably isn't going to be a plaque, it's going to be something else, or you can give recommendations on that.
Yeah, I think we'll just go with the Mayor's Monarch thing and use a QR code and send them to the to the website.
Or I'm sorry, are you talking Mayor's Monarch?
For the butterfly garden and the rain garden, we'll just.
Oh, that's a whole separate story.
Yeah,
That's with Mayor's Monarch. This isn't part of
Right,
Houston
what we're
Rock.
saying for signage, though, that's different than,
That'll be completely
We've
separate.
got Houston Ross history signage, we've got nature garden signs, and the last brief one, and I don't want to overlook it, is obviously the Mike Cognac Memorial location, which is still in plans to put a bench and a signage, and we need to confirm where we place that.
We did get a quote on that. Like I said, it is $1,600, because that would be a plaque. They do mount plaques to stones, like we had in that example. They don't provide the stones. We would have to find a stone, and it would have to get the vendor's approval.
But our pond situation might be able to.
Yes, correct. There may be a stone in that pond that could be used.
Okay,
I don't know what that would look like yet, but the council has yet to give their final stamp of approval on, yes, we want a stone, we want this plaque. I've got that quote on their May work session agenda. So once I get their feedback there, then we'll be good to talk more about that.
okay. There's some good stones on the Tullamore Trail, if I could just.
We'll just pick them up and bring them over.
Because I'm always eyeing them, I just can't figure out how to.
Showing a pile of stones that the sage at Marvin did.
Yes.
If you
They're
see a,
just
if you
sitting on the,
see a
they're
nice
just sitting on the
boulder,
side of the road. So-
nice boulder, then let me know. I don't move
And
them.
they're so lightweight.
I'm
Don't
just trying to
worry
figure
about
out how
picking
we
them
can
up.
just roll one home, but it's
All
okay.
right.
All right, moving on. Any other questions? Appreciate the time and good recommendations. And Jen has done a beautiful rendition on her picture of how we can do seating with the panel, so.
She's laid it out
She's
already.
good.
Doodling in the
Yes.
meeting,
So we've got to,
so, yeah.
we'll put that on file. Can you submit it for the record?
I'll take a photo of it.
Okay. Next up, we need to move on. Reports and updates. Event planning, Jill, on events, and we've talked good about anything else?
Yeah, so just as far as National Night Out, it is a little bit less than 4 months away, so it's August 4th. I have already registered our event officially with the National Night Out organization. I've already reached out to EMS, fire, and police, the sheriff's department, and kind of gotten all of them on board and committed to having a presence at the event. I've also lined up the DJ, the face painter, the bounce house. It's all sort of been done. One idea that has been thrown out is obviously, it's the 250th celebration of the United States, and we didn't really have an event planned for that, and neither does the county, apparently, which I know was upsetting to some local residents. So one idea that has come from it has been to maybe celebrate the 250th as part of National Night Out, since it's already a big event at the park. Not to take away from its purpose, but it does sort of not just kind of community pride, but national pride as well. So the only thing I've done so far is I've booked a red, white, and blue stars and stripes bounce house thingy, just to kind of add to that sort of component. I have spoken to Councilwoman Mayor Pro Tem Martin and asked her, because there was the Marvin Historical Society wanted to have some type of 250th, so I have asked her to go back to them and sort of ask what else they would like to incorporate, if anything, into National Night Out, but not quite sure what that's going to look like. It may not come to be, but I would love to hear your opinions on the pros and cons of that. The other idea was to maybe do something with the 250th at the Houston Ross ribbon cutting, but I think that would be I personally would rather see it as part of National Night Out than the Houston Ross, if we're going to do something and we don't have the capacity for another event. So that was just sort of an idea as a way to incorporate it. It doesn't really matter when we celebrate it. It doesn't have to be July 4th. We've never done a July 4th event. We're not going to start this year. But
Just a month later, August 4th, right?
So we'll come back to that. I'm going to park that for a second. The only other thing I wanted to kind of get you guys' feedback about is the food. So year in and year after year, we estimate the number of people that are going to come. We go out and we buy a ton of food, and then we inevitably run out, and I'm hopping in the car and racing down to the store, not once, but twice, to get more chips, more cookies, more drinks, more dogs, more buns. So,
No, it's a well-attended.
Yeah, exactly.
yes. So I am fine with doing that again and just buying, way more than we think we need, because, as long as these things aren't opened, you actually can return them to the store if you don't need them or don't open them. So it's not a huge deal. But in years past, we've also had opportunities to donate some leftovers. I believe one of you helped us with that. So I'm fine with that as well, as long as I don't buy so much that it puts me over budget. That's one option. The other option I was considering to float by you was maybe looking to partner with a local business, say Marco's Pizza, and just say, hey, we want to partner with you for this event. It's well attended. We don't necessarily need you to donate the pizza, but if you can give us a really good deal, and we're going to buy in bulk, and we can just kind of give pizza away by the slice. I feel like it would be no cooking.
I enjoy the cookies.
I know. No people standing around kind of waiting for food. And with Marco's being right down the street, I mean, we can sort of partner with them to say, hey, have one of your people on site. They'll kind of be able to call back to the store to say, hey, we're running low, fire up another 20 pizzas and get them here. So,
Hey, Jill, I have a question. How long has it been since we really took over buying all the food? Because I recall at one point, it used to be our assigned sheriffs would typically get pretty significant donations from like Harris Teeter and Publix for a good amount of the food.
So that's a great question. It's my understanding that Publix kind of stopped doing that years ago. I remember my first year on staff in 2022, they were no longer kind of doing that. One thing that they did do was they've given us a gift card every year for the 5K that we used to purchase like Finish Line snacks and drinks. And then we would inevitably have leftovers from that we would put towards the food purchases for the food at National Night Out. But the Sheriff's Department has focused primarily on using their funds to have like tchotchkes and fun things to hand out to the kids that come. Like last year, they had a whole table with different branded goods for the kids to take home, just some stickers and sunglasses and pens and books and things like that. So we've actually been buying the food from Publix for years now for this event and putting the leftover gift card towards it, which we don't have a gift card this year because we don't have a 5K. So I'm 100% on the hook for the food this year. And it's not necessarily that I'm trying to spend money. I'm just trying to ask this board, typically it just falls on like two of you to do most of the cooking, and we do run out of food and we have to run to the store, and it does get stressful and expensive. So is there an alternative to this that you want to consider? If not, and you like it, I can just buy more up front. Tyler was doing the buying last year. We can just buy more and see where we land. If we got to send somebody to the store, it's not a big deal. We do it all the time. It's right down the road. So just didn't know if you guys wanted to try something different like pizza, or if you want to stick with hot dogs.
So Christina left the room, but I think I can speak for
I'm
both of us.
fine flipping burgers and dogs.
Well, we don't do burgers anymore. That was a nightmare. We pretty much just do hot dogs at this point.
So Christina and I enjoyed the hot dog thing. We were totally happy to do it.
Okay.
Not a problem at all. So as long as we're still in the mix, like, that is fine.
And we remember our tongs.
Yes, as long as we remember our tongues.
What was the deal
And
with the grill?
And the grill is working properly.
Because we don't have that grill. Is it there all the time? Because I heard we borrowed it. The mayor helped us borrow it from somebody. That was what was,
Firethorns. Was it?
I think,
Yeah, I can reach out because I'm still a member there.
Okay. I think that's who's.
That is kind of a critical component.
It's
Yeah, I didn't
Firethorn's
realize
grill?
that- Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know where the grill came from. So those logistics being one consideration, we don't mind doing the work, and if we overbuy a little bit more, then it helps reduce the stress of everybody coming to go run around.
yeah.
But it doesn't preclude me being open to a pizza thing, as long as it's not, like, the pizza thing would be the main meal of not running out, but would we still be doing
Chips and cookies,
drinks?
yeah. And I would keep it simple, just like some
Yeah.
cheese and some pepperoni and call it a day.
Yeah, exactly, but if we're still, we're still buying some food and the pizza one, so honestly, I mean, my opinion as someone who works that event is whatever's more fiscally efficient.
Yeah. And I haven't even
I'm-
spoken to
I'm not gonna be
Marcos, so I don't
offended
know.
If I'm not turning hot dogs.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
just wonder if the pizza would be expensive, because it seems like that's something people would just be grabbing more.
Yeah.
Not everyone consumes that.
And
many
I
hot
just
dogs,
wonder if
right?
Marcos can,
Yeah.
no offense to Marcos, but can they handle the volume that could potentially come out of there? They can only make so many pizzas at a time
Yeah.
down there, at that location.
But I would be willing to explore it to see if it
Yeah.
makes financial sense.
Because they might say, oh, no, we can't do that.
Yeah.
Or they might say,
Or give
yes.
us a great deal, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'll look into it and come back to you with some preliminary costs, and we'll see which one is fiscally more manageable.
Yeah, and if it doesn't work out, we're happy to.
In the meantime, Councilman Barisic, are you able to start reaching out to Firethorn just to see if that grill's available on Tuesday, August 4th, in case we do decide to go with hot dogs?
Yeah, I'll check in with them.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, so was that it? What did I tell you to park? What did I say we were parking? Come back to it.
It was the food.
It was. Okay,
food.
then yeah.
You
So I think
guys-
we're good.
You guys have about 8 minutes left. We do have an 11 o'clock meeting. I don't think you have anything for Trails and Greenways, and Matt's not here, so you don't have Public
I'm
Works.
sorry, real quick on Trails and, because we did more of email communication on the signage, correct? We approved the signage for the Greenway ordinance on vehicles. It's not
Did
on
I?
here, but that
Did
was.
I not put that on here? Or did I put that on May?
Yeah, I don't see it here. but that
Hold
was-
on, let me make sure I didn't put that on May, because I could have put it on May by accident. I think I put it on May because council won't discuss that again till May.
Okay.
Let me double check, though. Huh. I'll bring that back to y'all in May, if that's okay.
But they are ordered, the signs?
No.
No, they're not. they're
Council
not.
hasn't approved them yet, so I'll bring those to y'all in May. Let me make a note.
But just to be clear, the ordinance was passed though, correct?
Yes,
Okay,
the
because I
ordinance-
have
the
been sharing
e-bike
that
ordinance was
ordinance with
passed.
people, so I'm glad that, yes, I said, don't worry, the signs are coming soon.
She's been enforcing it.
Yeah, well, so, but I think it's important, though, that we all know the ordinance and can communicate it when people are asking, why are there e-bikes on our greenways?
Well, and that was one of my, the only suggestion I really had about it was, we have the QR code at the bottom that says, you know, and it goes to the general trails site. Maybe a little QR code right at the end of the ordinance. Not that many people are gonna check. But if you wanted to know what it said when you're standing there at the
You guys did send me feedback. Do you want me to bring this back in May? Or are you guys kind of had your feedback already?
Well,
I've
one-
had, I mean,
yeah, we-
I've given,
Yes, I was gonna say, probably because we didn't collectively get it because we were sent, I mean, because we were blind copying, right? So
I would
we
say
don't- yes.
Austin has all of our
You have
feedback
all of our
individually.
feedback, right, so it would be good probably just to see what we all said, I mean, to,
I'll send you guys a follow-up email. I'll send you guys a follow-up email. You let me know if you want to see any further changes, and if so, I'll bring it back in May.
Okay.
If not, I'll just go ahead and
Just
take it
send
to
us
council.
where we are right now. Yeah.
Okay.
thank you.
or whatever council says.
Okay, that sounds good. Matt's had an issue he had to deal with this morning, so he couldn't be here, so you don't have anything for Public Works.
Okay. And John? Update from council, John?
Sorry, I was just trying to get off mute. Yeah, in terms of council, a couple of different things that we touched on. Certainly, you know, Houston Ross Park, we were continuing to discuss, you know, things there. We had discussion about the plaques and things like that, and you know, that's definitely something that you know, they're looking to us to continue to provide guidance on. Christina, you in conjunction with the group that's working from the Historical Society and so forth. So I think we've gotten some good direction there to provide some feedback on that. Other than that, we are deep kind of into the budget season. Jill described a little bit about the, you know, initial drafts that we've had. We're still looking at where we're gonna, you know, kind of keep things from a tax rate perspective. But, you know, one of the realizations that, you know, that we have is that as we continue to take over more of the roads and roundabouts, good, bad, or indifferent, you know, we're going to have to continue to dedicate more funds to those things. So those are some of the priorities that, you know, we've got in the new budget. We've certainly, from a parks and recreation and greenways, specifically the parks and greenways, we are being diligent to also make sure, though, that we do have the funds available to continue to maintain what we have and keep everything in good shape. So that's a good part of the planning that we're doing as well. But I think that's primarily it from council. The one thing that I have discussed with them is the fact that it's a little bit tough now that our PRG meetings occur after, you know, like immediately after the council meetings each month. It's not something that we necessarily need to address right now, but what happens is if they ask us to kind of do something, it may not even have time to get on the agenda from, you know, the night before till the next morning. So oftentimes that may not even be discussed till a month from now, which can often delay some things. So, you know, we may talk about the potential of seeing if we might want to do these Monday mornings instead of Tuesday mornings at some point. But it just, the timing of our current meetings does make it a little bit tougher sometimes to kind of, you know, react as quickly as, you know, sometimes we want to.
So John, with that, then, if we had a Monday meeting, if we made a decision like we did today, you'd have it for tonight's meeting? Or that
Honestly, that wouldn't really help because if
It's fast to turn
it's
around
too
for
fast
either
turnaround. Because if I get something from you guys and I need to take it to council and I have to change it anyway, I don't have any time to change it.
We could change to a different Tuesday.
And the schedule might even change next year. Council might do a different day, a different Monday They might switch to the second Monday next year. I don't really know.
Can you have a standing agenda item on this meeting that just reserves 10 minutes for anything John or anybody needs to bring back to this board for discussion, and if they don't use it, they don't need it?
You can't really do that because you're not identifying what's being discussed. You can have general updates, but you can't just have a standing item for whatever came from council. That's not public notice as far as an agenda goes.
So
Yeah, I'll continue to talk amongst council to kind of, make sure they are aware of, the timing of things and how that can affect how responsive we can be or vice versa, when we send issues back and forth. And I'll come back. It's just something that I wanted to mention because, it is something that might require a change at some point.
Yeah, maybe we move to the second Tuesday. of the
Yeah, that's what
month.
I'm saying.
Some of ours get postponed that way anyway, like
The way the
4th of
holidays,
July
yeah.
one.
Okay.
The July one usually.
Yeah, because
Or
yeah,
canceled.
that's something to think about. Easy enough.
All right, John, anything else?
Nope, that's all. Thank you.
No, thank you. Austin, I think we're right at time. Is that
We're going to go a little over, it looks like,
The
but
action items? Or
a lot. Christina's going to work on some language for a plaque or educational sign for tribes. John will work on language for one about the Eford family with Marvin Eford Park. I'm going to do a write-up for you all for your notes for events, and I'll put that back on the next meeting. Deb and Angel are going to have more discussions about the farmers market and how we could possibly implement that with either the tree lighting or another event this fall.
You mean vendor market?
Vendor market, yeah, vendor market. Jen is going to do a short draft of the plan to replace Bermuda grass on the property with either fescue or other plants. I'm going to talk to Hunter about replanting trees along the Heritage at Marvin Trail, and Christina can walk that site. And I'll email you all about the trail signs, and if you don't have anything else to add, I'll just take it to council next month, since I've had all your feedback.
And then I've got the follow-up with the
And you got-
Historical
yeah.
Society on the update to the signage.
And that's all I got.
Thank you, Austin. And I think got that. Any other board member comments before we close? Really good discussions today. Appreciate everyone's time. With that, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting at exactly 11 a.m. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you. Hold on one second.